It's a change of policy. They have decided to copy what happens in the United States and give names to storms. That helps people to relate to them, and that creates common denominator, what you are talking about. So it's a good idea. There were A, B, which didn't reach Israel, but now we have C, Carmel, and that reaches Israel. That's why it's on C, Carmel.
And in terms of the storm system itself, what can you tell us? What should we be expecting in these coming days? This will last a few days, I believe.
Yeah, that would be a feast for meteorologists. They would be interviewed all over the channels. What we do expect is what people do like, heavy rains, heavy snow on the Hermon mountain, which would enable skiing, some sandstorms in the Negev, and unfortunately some floodings, because, the rain is a necessary thing for flooding, but it by itself, it doesn't create floods.
Now, some reports from this storm system saying that it's brought snow to places such as Alexandria and Egypt, highly irregular here. In Israel, are we expecting from this storm system or others that may come through this winter any extreme weather events? I know this is impossible perhaps to tell us in any certainty, but is that the expectation among meteorologists?
The word extreme, when you speak to a mathematician, he would like to ask you, is it once in 100 years, once in 50 years? And really, it's a question of definition. The main question is, are you used to such weather? And in Israel, you are not used to such weather. So every storm is an extraordinary event. But if you count how much precipitation fell or was the wind reaching new heights, which it never reached, you don't always find this case. So usually, when I go to court to give some testimonies, I found out that events which are happening once every 10 to 15 years are regarded as extreme and extraordinary. That's really the public feeling about it. So I would say that this storm, I've seen storms like this. The question is really whether some places will get very extra precipitation, let's say more than 100 millimeters per day. This is right heavy. And whether the systems can handle such streams and flows and not create flooding. This is another question, because 100 kilometers maybe in the Yarkon River, it's nothing, because the ground would absorb all the precipitation, and 100 millimeters in Naharia would be flooding of the Gaton River. So it's also a question of place.
Now, to draw you into a bit of the climate change debate and given some historical perspective here, are the weather systems reaching Israel, have they changed in the last 10, 20 years? Are we seeing more intensive storms rather than a longer rainy season? What's happening here?
No, I wouldn't say that we see larger raining storms. What I did notice, and this is not based on very detailed research, is that the winter starts a little bit later than usual, and that the transient season of the spring is extended a little bit into the summer. So usually when I was a child, and that was only 5 years ago, the rain used to start at the beginning of November. Now it's in December. So that I noted in the last 3-5 years that it exists.
And on top of that,
not as to the ferocity or the quantity of rains, no, that I didn't notice.